time lag is the time period as to which you put in $1 into a paid ad ecosystem and the time it takes from that dollar to actually produce revenue back to you. So time lag is something that is usually skipped over by clients or by businesses as a metric to watch because typically they measure by ROAS. And ROAS is a ratio. It's not actually a measurement of the performance of that audience. It's actually measured about performance in 3 different buckets of that audience in that stage of that journey. All right, and we're live. So Ralph has grown more hair, lost like 20 years of age, and is here with me today under a different name. So we actually have another person here today, not Ralph, it's Cameron. Cameron is actually one of our astute kind of strategists, media buyers, kind of business builder. You're kind of everything too. I think you've been kind of adopting MPIs and also growing in different metrics in the way that you measure it, everything. So we have Cameron here today in place of Ralph. But I'm happy to have you here. Yeah, this is fun. This is exciting. We have some kind of different perspectives. And actually, Cameron had a good topic for today. We did an internal kind of training and we're talking about time lag. And I think time lag is something that people kind of get, like people understand for the most part, like they'll hear of like time lag or conversion lag or cash versus accrual or click versus conversion date. There's a lot of different ways to kind of measure the time lag of a user. But for Google specifically, Google gives us a few different key points as to which you can measure a little bit more accuracy on the time lag it takes from a person during their sales cycle, because we get different metrics than what the backend of Shopify does or like a third-party data studio will produce. And it gives us a little bit more insight into it. And the reason why I can do that is because it has channels that can watch traffic essentially, even if they're not seeing your ad. I mean, it makes sense because that's when you're like, hey, you didn't show up for that search. Like they know what happened and where you were and when you showed up and who saw you, etc. So,
so John, just quickly before you lose the meta people, this is not just a Google thing. This is also very, very relevant for people in Meta, but it stems from Google's data. So basically they can go look in Google, get what you're going to show today and completely change how they're doing what they're doing on that end. Or if you're running both platforms, it's going to help you either way. And just really, what is time lag?
Yep.
Just so everyone understands that.
Yep. And that's also, we're also going to cover how it affects Amazon as well, because I think that's also something important to look at. So what time lag is the time period as to which you put in $1 into a paid ad ecosystem primarily. Is what we're talking about. That's how we're conceptualizing it. And the time it takes from that dollar to actually produce revenue back to you on average per either new or existing customer. So time lag is something that is usually skipped over by clients or by businesses as a metric to watch because typically they measure by ROAS. And ROAS is a ratio. It's not actually a measurement of the performance of that audience. It's actually measured about performance in 3 different buckets of that audience in that stage of that journey. There's a lot of like buts. And so you have to kind of funnel things down. So I'm going to use paint just as a quick example of what I mean by stages of the journey. And yes, I am the 5-year-old, so I love using paint. It brings me right back to when I used to color on my dad's PC. So if we look at, there's one big group of people, and this group of people here, this is elongated to represent your time lag. And your time lag, let's just say, is 10 days. And as I build this, it'll become kind of more evident as to how this is being understood. So this time lag is 10 days. This over here is day 1. And this over here is day 10. And what is happening in this scenario here is you have people coming into the funnel, and it's really any channel, really. If it's remarketing, that's going to have a different time lag than prospecting. Now, if you have a structured funnel omni-channel of how much spend you have allocated to your prospecting, to your remarketing, to your acquisition, you have a little bit more of an understanding of this. So this is going to be, if you didn't have that, this is kind of what that's measuring, is the time it takes to introduce yourself to people and then get them to buy something or get them to fill out a form. That's the action that you're looking to take. And how long does that take? Well, it's important to know that because you're going to be able to measure it in different ways. in this stage here of the day 1 through day 10, you primarily have 3 buckets of users. Bucket number 1 is going to be over here. And these are the people who just found out about you within the last like 24 to 48 hours. That's bucket number 1. These are like the day 1 people. And then you have this kind of larger middle bucket here. And these are people who are being engaged with your content. They're visiting your site a few times. Maybe they're adding to cart and they're leaving. We know they are because your average bounce rate on add to cart is 66%. So a lot of people take a lot of activity here a lot of times. This is usually where things get lost in terms of attribution tracking. And then you have this third area over here, which is your acquisition stage. So this is where people are actually in the last like 2 to 3 steps, what they're buying, like what the actions that they're taking that are leading them to a purchase. I'm going to Google the brand. I'm going to click on the email. I'm going to go back to the website in my saved history of my browser, whatever it may be. I'm going to click on a remarketing ad. So there's 3 different stages. These stages here are currently producing, let's just say, a ROAS. I'm going to use kind of what clients think of. This is producing a ROAS of 400%. And this could be a performance max campaign. Okay. So performance max is kind of doing all 3 at once, or so it claims. We know what's true, but that's what's interesting. It claims that it's doing a 400% in the funnel. Now, if you are spending, let's say at this time period, $100 a day, if you're spending $100 a day, you're sending in a level of traffic that is right here. It's sending a level of traffic and they are going through all their stages and they're coming out the other side. Let me do a little arrow. This is going to be a chunky little fat arrow. There we go. All the way over to the other side. So they're coming in at $100 a day. They're coming in and this $100 a day has been static for 10 days. And now we have a nice even amount of people who are coming in, warming up and buying. They're moving left to right. Now, if you were to say double that budget, now you're saying, okay, we're not going to $100 a day. Now we're doing $200 a day. We've doubled the amount of ad spend in our funnel. So it's no longer 100, it's now 200. So what you end up doing is you add in people in the funnel that are at a higher level. There's more people coming in here in this funnel, but the people down here that are warming up are still down here. And the people who are ready to buy, they're also still down here in this level. You can't physically add more buyers to your funnel. I can't use a bidding strategy to make people wake up one day and be like, the Nike Air Jordans model. And they don't do that. They don't just wake up and want to buy that product. So we can only add new. We can only add new people. And the level of conversion rate per group of people in these stages are somewhat like 20%. And then this could be more like 40% here. These are the stages of the people that are going through and their conversion rates. And this is more like 80%. The reason why this is the likelihood of conversion in this stage. Yes, you start a campaign, you get some sales. Yeah, that happens. That's because you're capturing these people. And then I think it starts to get better. Yeah, it's because you're capturing more of these people. Yeah, but then like as long as I crank up my brand campaign, that thing skyrockets. Yes, because you're only capturing these people. So when you're looking at omni-channel funnels, if you start to add in the most expensive and the least converting people into a stage in the funnel that takes 10 days, what happens to your ROAS? Well, your ROAS has to go down. Your ROAS is now at 300% because I took and added twice as many people into the first stage. And so I've lowered the average output of this because I've offset the amount of high traffic in the beginning that has not yet become high traffic in stage 2 and has not yet become high traffic in stage 3. Once these people that are down here start to move themselves up in their journey, which this portion here takes some time because now they're coming in and becoming more aware, but they're a higher volume of aware people that then will flow into this stage of a higher aware volume of people who are ready to buy. That process takes how long?
10 days.
10 days. There we go.
So John, as well, in practical terms of what platforms would be happening or like would be engaged with in each stage, what would that look like? So what's happening in the first quadrant? What platforms and campaign types of people looking at the second and the third?
Yep. So perfect. So if we're breaking these down into these three quadrants again, this is where attribution modeling and this is where time lag and benchmarking all kind of come into play. We're gonna skip the kind of hard part about attribution modeling and that kind of stuff, but we're just gonna address the first part. If this was a prospecting campaign, my prospecting campaign should not really measure and care of these stages over here. These stages are now excluded. I'm not trying to take my prospecting and go to the people who are ready to buy. That's called performance max. It's just going to go to your brand people. Not prospecting. I hit the wrong audience. The warm buyers over here on the right. So my prospecting campaign, what I want to look at is if I know I have a 10-day timeline. Go ahead.
Advantage Plus as well in Meta is the problem people fall into when they're putting that up. It's you're playing in that pool too.
Oh yeah, and if you have Advantage Plus, if you have a manual campaign that is ignoring your exclusions, if you even have an Advantage Plus campaign that's ignoring the 0% people spent 0% of the ad spend spent on my existing customers, if that's getting ignored, if you're running Performance Max that is targeting your existing website traffic, that's going to have an effect. If you're doing it, even if you're capturing or excluding the brand, you excluded the people coming into Performance Max on search and shopping, but you're still capturing the same users outbound on YouTube, GSP, Discover, Display, Demand Gen. You're proactively trying to hunt down my warm traffic. So those are when we're looking at the stages of the journey that it's measured correctly. Now with benchmarking, we know that after 10 days, as an example, our 10-day period here, this first stage should have what they would look at is a 10-day look back. And I should have at least, some things like an NCAC, an NMER. I can even look at like in-app CPA. I can look at in-app ROAS. I can choose insert measurement of your choice here. There's no wrong answer. You use them all. But what I'm not going to do is say, if I want a 400% ROAS after the entire funnel is complete, I don't expect my day one first, 3 days of activity to pump out a 400% ROAS. I don't need it to pump out a 400% ROAS. I need something. What is it? I don't know. But that's what benchmarking does. We have to look at this and say, this one, let's just use like NMER, a 200% NMER in the first week. Great. So your prospecting campaigns using Data Suite, look at that and say, is your prospecting campaigns at least above a 2 NMER on your first week? If so, your first few days. In the second portion of the journey, this one might have a 400% NMER. That's this portion here. The brand campaign, 2000% NMER. Brand, right? Brand always looks good. Why? Because it's the people in this stage. So what you want to do is you want to look at your benchmarks, and you can use attribution to do this. How you would do that is say 7-day look back of my prospecting campaigns. Am I getting at least 200% of my money back on those people in this stage? Yes, good. Just make sure it doesn't drop. Now, second stage, these people may have to have a good amount of ad spend to it. It's a longer sales cycle, higher AOV, more difficult decision, higher competition, more, maybe a little bit higher priced. These people, I need, about 6 or 7 days, but we should always look at a 7-day look back window of my engagement campaigns. And is it achieving a 400%? Yes, good. Yeah. In my last step of the stage being at a 2000%, this is your brand campaign. This is things that are like, really, really, really heavy remarketing of our existing customers inside of Meta. Like those things to keep LTV. Those should be really lucrative because they are basically going to buy anyway. Don't spend so much money on it. But the media mix modeling says if I spend X amount of money here and here and here on day 1 through day 5 to day 10, I should be able to see a 200%, 400%, 2000%. I should also see a CPA that is like a $10 CPA here, $10 CPA here, $10 CPA here. If I'm measuring from first click, all clicks, last click, you can kind of see like I should measure it in the portion of the stage of the journey as per the attribution model I'm looking to achieve and at that benchmark. And then after, if this is working correctly, what does that give me? It gives me a 400%. Let's just say it's low. Let's say, oh no, it's not delivering a 400%. It's 200%. Okay, if it's 200%, am I overspent here? Am I not engaging enough here? Am I overspent there? Like that's what you have to do to identify the proper amount of traffic of multimedia mix modeling based on our accrual basis of the MPIs that we're looking to achieve in Data Suite so that you can make sure everything's going well.
Yeah. So
the best part about this whole thing. Yep, I was finished up. The
It's
best
just
part
a-
about this whole thing
There you go.
is you can't add double the amount of ad spend and get an instantaneous day 2 performance of 400% yet again. So that's just demystifying what people expect.